The Galactic Council had seen many strange species in its 10,000-year history, but none quite like humans. They were paradoxical creatures capable of engineering quantum drives, yet inexplicably attached to worn fabric and broken objects. The Zenthri couldn't understand it. The Krell found it amusing. But the Ursidans? The Ursidans were learning. Colette hadn't meant to cause an interstellar incident. She'd simply forgotten her hoodie. The Starbound Horizon was humanity's first deep space research vessel to host a multi-species crew, and Colette served as the human xenobiologist assigned to study the Ursidan cubs, 3 juvenile members of a bear-like species known for their fierce territorial instincts and complex social hierarchies. The cubs, officially designated as specimens A, B, and C but nicknamed Honey, Cinnamon, and Shadow by Colette, were part of a cultural exchange program. They were learning about humans. Humans were learning about them. Cecil, the ship's security officer and Colette's partner in the xenobiology division, had warned her about leaving personal items in the observation habitat. They're still wild at their core, he'd said, adjusting his uniform collar. Don't anthropomorphize them too much, but Colette had laughed it off. The cubs were sweet, curious, and remarkably gentle despite their size, each already massing close to 200 kilograms. At just 18 months old, she'd spent weeks building trust, and they'd begun bringing her gifts: smooth stones, twisted pieces of metal from the ship's recycling center, once even a stolen data pad that had caused a minor panic. On the evening of day 47, Colette had been running behavioral tests in the habitat's recreation zone, a sprawling area designed to mimic the Ursidan homeworld's forest floor. The temperature controls had malfunctioned, making it uncomfortably warm. Without thinking, she'd stripped off her gray hoodie and draped it over the observation chair near the habitat entrance. The tests ran long. Cecil called her to the bridge for an emergency meeting about a navigation anomaly. She'd left in a hurry, the hoodie completely forgotten. By the time she remembered it 3 hours later, the night cycle had begun. I need to retrieve something from the habitat, Colette told Cecil as they walked through the dimly lit corridors. Can't it wait until morning? Cecil checked his chronometer. The cubs are in their rest period. You know how aggressive they get when disturbed. It's just my hoodie. I'll be in and out in 30 seconds. Cecil sighed but followed her anyway. That was his job, keeping the scientists safe from their own curiosity. The habitat's entrance required 3 separate security clearances. As the airlock door hissed open, Colette immediately knew something was wrong. The observation chair was visible through the transparent aluminum barrier, but it wasn't empty anymore. All 3 cubs had arranged themselves around it. Honey lay directly on the hoodie, her massive head resting on the fabric. Cinnamon sat beside the chair, back pressed against it, her ears swiveling at every sound. Shadow, the largest and most protective of the trio, paced in a slow circle round the chair, his dark fur catching the habitat's bioluminescent lighting. Well, Cecil said quietly. That's new. Colette approached the habitat barrier slowly, her heart hammering. The cubs' behavior was unprecedented. In all her years studying Ursidans, she'd never seen them guard an object with such intensity. They think it's a nest, she whispered. My scent is all over it. The warmth from my body, the shape. They've designated it as territory. Your territory? Cecil asked. No, their territory. They're protecting it for me. For the next 6 hours. Colette and Cecil watched the cubs maintain their vigil. Every time a cleaning drone approached, Shadow would rise and growl, a sound that rumbled through the deck plating. When the automated feeding system activated, Cinnamon refused to eat, unwilling to abandon her post. Honey shifted position only once, carefully rearranging the hoodie before settling back down on it. This is remarkable, Colette breathed, her recorder capturing every moment. They've adopted human nesting behavior. They understand that the hoodie represents me, and they're protecting it the way they would protect a denmate's territory on their home world. Cecil pulled up the xenoanthropology database on his pad. According to this, Ursidans only guard territory for family pod members or sworn companions. The bonding process usually takes years. We've only been working together for 47 days. Exactly. The implications hung in the air between them. Humanity had been trying to forge alliances across the galaxy for decades. struggling against species who saw them as weak, over-emotional, or dangerously unpredictable. Yet here were 3 Ursidan cubs, members of a notoriously isolationist species, treating a forgotten hoodie like sacred ground, simply because it smelled like their human friend. As dawn's cycle approached, Colette made a decision. She entered the habitat. Cecil's protest died in his throat as he watched the cubs' reaction. Shadow stopped pacing. Cinnamon's ears perked forward. Honey lifted her head, but didn't move from the hoodie. Colette knelt 3 meters from the chair. "Hey, babies," she said softly. "Thank you for keeping it safe." Shadow approached first, his massive form dwarfing her. He pressed his forehead against hers, the Ursidan gesture of trust, and rumbled deep in his chest. Cinnamon joined them, nuzzling Colette's shoulder. Only Honey remained on the chair, still guarding the hoodie. Colette didn't try to take it. Instead, she sat down beside Honey, leaning against the chair. Within minutes, all 3 cubs had arranged themselves around her, creating a protective circle. When Cecil submitted his report to the Galactic Council, he included one simple observation: humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our ability to leave pieces of ourselves behind and trust others to protect them. Even a forgotten hoodie can become a bridge between species. The Zenthri still didn't understand. The Krell still found it amusing. But the Ursidans? They understood perfectly. 3 months later, when the cubs returned to their home world as ambassadors, Honey carried Colette's hoodie with her, carefully folded, eternally guarded, a symbol of the pack bond between species. And humanity's greatest alliance began not with treaties or trade agreements, but with a young woman who left her heart on a chair, and 3 cubs who recognized it for what it was: nest territory, family, home.